Dennis Quaid's newborn twins nearly killed in an accidental overdose at a hospital. The infants given medicine 1,000 times stronger than prescribed. And it's a surprisingly easy mistake that has killed other babies. So why does it keep happening? Meantime, I want to get you to a story here in the States getting a lot of attention. The newborn twins of Dennis Quaid and his wife, Kimberly, given a dangerous overdose of blood thinner in the neonatal ICU. TMZ.com reporting Thomas Boone and Zoe Grace were given vials of heparin 1,000 times stronger than what was prescribed. The drug is used to prevent blood clots. Cedars-Sinai Medical Center says the mix-up could have been prevented. So then, why did it happen? Pediatrician Dr. Jamie Wells and attorney Jason Friedman joining us from New York tonight with more. Dr. Wells, I got to start with you. TMZ is actually reporting this is the 8th time this year this has happened at Cedars-Sinai. How does this keep happening?
I don't work there, so I can't begin to comment. And I can tell you the NICU tends to be the most hyper-diligent, hyper-vigilant population of nurses and doctors throughout the country. So this is a devastating error that happened. I don't know if the problem happened in the pharmacy or on the unit, whether they were given the wrong vials intended for adults. I can't begin to comment on that.
But if this happened in a hospital where you had worked and it had already happened 8 times in 1 year, what would have changed to make sure it didn't happen again?
One would hope. This is why it's so important to be compulsive and recognize that any medication has potential risks and benefits, and you really need to weigh and measure those very closely. I can't even, if something like this happened, you'd expect that they would put in checks and balances so that more than one eye has to view the medication before it's administered. And I would imagine that would have been implemented.
Now, the hospital has said, part of the statement, and I got to tell you, it was a very, very long statement. Sure. Cedars-Sinai saying, I want to extend my deepest apologies to the families who were affected by this situation. This was a preventable error involving a failure to follow our standard policies and procedures, and there is no excuse for that to occur at Cedars-Sinai. This coming to us from Michael Langberg, who's the chief medical officer there. Jason, I want to bring you in here. The hospital admitting repeatedly in this very long statement that they screwed up. It is our fault. I personally was surprised they were so forthcoming and so quickly about it. Is it because there's a celebrity involved here, because they're babies? Why do you think that is?
It is very unusual for a hospital to come right out and admit such a mistake. It's very rare in our business. However, it still is a very outrageous case of medical negligence. Whatever checks and balances they had, if they had checks and balances, failed miserably. And as a result, these poor children are suffering. I can assure you that any malpractice lawyer would love to take this case on.
So, and I would think, too, with the hospital basically admitting fault several times in this statement, that it's a pretty easy case here.
In a way, there's no such thing as an easy case, as we always say. It is good that they admit a responsibility, but the second question becomes, what is the value of a case like this? Hopefully, the kids will continue to improve and get better and have no residual effects, and that would put the case at one value. However, if, God forbid, the kids take a turn for the worse or have residual, long-lasting effects from this incident, that puts the case at another value.
Dr. Wells, in your experience, because when we hear the information, babies in the hospital born November 8th, they're twins, they were in the NICU. We don't know for sure, but it would lead you to believe that perhaps they were born prematurely. Twins are, as we know, a very high-risk pregnancy. Right. Can a baby survive this dosage?
Babies have survived this dosage. The individual is the variable. The fact that they're over 5 and 6 pounds works for them. It depends on how quickly the problem was remedied. And really, the individual is the biggest component of this. Being a girl makes them more robust as a young baby, so that will help one of them. But really, it's going to be a matter of time and close monitoring and hope.
This heparin actually keeps the blood from clotting. Is this something that's absolutely necessary, especially in an infant? Well,
I can't comment on what they were requiring it for, but most likely in the NICU setting, they're getting it to keep the lines open of IVs. And you should really have a very minuscule amount of heparin to be able to do that. They received an extremely high dose. And the critical problem with this medication is that it causes bleeding. It can cause bleeding anywhere in the body, and the most devastating site of bleeding would be the brain, and the developing brain at that.
Well, and we hope that they and the other patients involved come out of this doing well. Dr. Jamie Wells, Jason Friedman, thank you both.